Alright, so welcome back. In this video we're gonna continue our PyQt5 application or this dice game. Now what we're gonna do is to add some sort of box here and display the current score of the player. So let us start with this. What I'm going to do is to simply add it here. I'm gonna name it player 1 current score, and it will be of Q label, and I'm gonna have it at 0 at first. Player 2 current score, and it will be also of Q label of value 0, 2. Alright, now we do have our two labels. Let us add them into this. So we're gonna add the first widget, which is player 1 current, and notice that everything related to player 1 is actually at column 0 right here. Everything related to player 2 is at column 1. Alright, so we're gonna add it at index 2 of row and 0, and then we're gonna also add for player 2, and it will be at index 2 also, and the position of column 1. Alright, so let's close this and run this again, and we're gonna get these. Now notice that they are not at the center, so let me just improve it or modify it. So player 1 current score dot set alignment, and it will be of qt core dot qt alignment as usual dot align center. I'm gonna copy this and just change here from player 1 to player 2, and we're good to go. Now let me just run it again, and we're good. So we do have these here. Now we're gonna have a slightly different syntax or style for these, because remember that these are the final or the original values, and these are the current values played in a single set in the game. So let's get into the style sheet of player 1 current score dot set style sheet as usual, and we're gonna start by opening the parentheses as usual and simply add in here. What we're gonna do is to simply set the font size into 30 pixels, and then we're gonna set the height into 20 pixels. The background color would be this one, the one that we've used for the label before, and the actual color will be FFF. Alright, and now what we're gonna do is to simply increase the width, and I'm gonna set it to 40% for now. The margin will be 0 and auto, padding of 12 pixels for now, and the text. Alright, so we've set it before, so we don't really need it right here. Now let me just close this and check it out, run, and we're gonna get it right here. So as we can see, we got our player 1, the score, and the current score right here. Now we're gonna do the exact same thing for player 2, so I'm gonna just copy this and just change here from player 1 to player 2, and we're good to go. Now let me close this, run, and we're gonna get this as our PyQt5 application for now. Now what we're gonna do is to add the dice here. So we're gonna add two dice. The first one will be in this position, for example, and the other one will be right here, and we're gonna add the buttons into this game. The buttons are the roll to roll the dice, and we do have the hold to just make the player hold whatever we have in the current. So we're gonna transfer from here to here. So don't worry about these functions, we're gonna do them later, but for now we're gonna just build the the front end of our dice game. Alright, so let me just start with building the images. So we started by building the players scores, and we do have here the current scores. Now let's do it here. What I'm going to do is to simply add image 1, and it will be qpix map of the dice1 dot png, and then we do have image 2. I'm gonna take randomly qpix map dice2 dot png for now. We're gonna change these later when the game begins, but for now we do have these two images. Now we're gonna store them in a label. So we're gonna have, maybe I'm gonna name it image 1 label, and it will be of q label. And what we're gonna do is to simply add to it. So we're gonna set pix map into image 1 that we just got from here. And we're gonna do the exact same thing for image 2. So image 2 label, it will be of q label type, and we're gonna add to it. So image 2 label dot set pix map into image 2. Alright, so we do have the two images. Now we need to add them to the grid, and the most optimal position for these two dice is at the center right here. Now remember that we have the grid, and we do have the column 1, and this is it, and we do also have the second column right here. So what we're gonna do is to simply shift or move this to a third column, and then add the dices into column 2. So to do that, what we are going to change here is everything related to the player 2, and we're gonna change the position of the column from 1 to 2, and that's it basically. Now if I go ahead and run this again, we're gonna see that we have nothing changed for now because we didn't really add anything in between. So now if I go ahead and add the widgets right here, so we're gonna add image 1 label to the position of this one right here. So it is at row 0 and just column 1. Alright, so we're gonna do it here, 0, 1, and the second one will be also at row. Alright, so image 2 label, it will be at row 1 this time, and also column 1. Now let's close this and run it again, and we're gonna see that we got our images right here. They're too big for the game, but we just got them in the middle of these two, player 1 and player 2. Alright, so now let's improve, or let's decrease the size of these images. And one way to do that is to use the scaled function that we have for the image. And if I use it here, for example, image 1 that's scaled, and I'm gonna scale them into 80 by 80 for now, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing as before for image 2. And now notice that even if I run this code, let me just run it again, nothing will happen because we didn't really change the image size, because this method actually returns a new image that is scaled at 80/80. Alright, so I'm gonna also save it in image 1, and I'm gonna save this in image 2. So now we assigned image 1 and image 2 to new images of scale 80 by 80 width and height. Alright, so now let's close this again, run, and we're gonna find out that our images are now smaller than before, and height and width of them is 80. Alright, so as before, let me just adjust this Q label. So I'm gonna simply use the image label dot, and I'm gonna set alignment into qt core.qt dot align center, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing for image 2, and we're good to go. Let me just close this, run again, and that's it basically. This is the dice 1 and this is dice 2. Alright, so we can see that dice 1 and new game are pretty much close to each other, so we might need to just have some margin or a space between them. and I'm gonna do that by simply changing the style sheet. So I'm gonna use the set style sheet that we have used earlier. So let me go ahead and do it here. So we have image1 label and image2 label. What I'm going to do is to simply change the padding right here. So .set style sheet, and I'm gonna change it into, alright, so we're good to go. Now we're gonna change the padding into 100 pixels for top and zeros for right, bottom, and left. Alright, now we're good to go. Now if I go ahead and close this, run again, we're gonna see that we have a great or a good amount of space between the new game and the dice that we have right here. Alright, so that's it basically for the two dices, and with that being said, this is the end of this video. In the next one, we're gonna build the last elements, and they are the buttons for roll and hold, and we're gonna be pretty much done with this front end of the dice game. We're gonna continue building the back end and use it in our game. So that's it basically for this video. See you in the next one.